All right, boys, we're back for another round of this podcast. Off a wild weekend of Nashville. I wouldn't say wild for Kentucky basketball, and we can get into that, but like us three boys went out on the town. So we'll lead. We'll kind of hit that point in a little while, but kind of tease that is where I'm looking for. But guys, how are you all? How are you recovering from the weekend and outside the SEC tournament and a weekend down to Broadway? How are you all doing on this Monday night?
Man, I saw producer Tim on Broadway. I was like, "Hey, let's go. Come on." I lost my voice. I had quite a weekend, so you can hear it. So my answer is going to be a little shorter on this pod than usual, but it was a good weekend, man.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. I got some good courtside photos and everything, but wish I could do it for a few more games. But that night that was the night we went out to kind of forget about the game, have some fun, since the media doesn't really get to do that much. So it was still a good night, I'd say.
Ah, guess we're gonna have to get right into it, aren't we?
I think
So,
so.
Friday night. Well, I guess me and Tim got down there Thursday afternoon. Michael, didn't you make it Friday morning sometime?
Yeah, I left the day of.
Down to BBN Nashville. Kentucky fans absolutely took over. Like as you knew they would, but like took over that city, man. There was blue everywhere. It was insane. In my opinion, this what came close to Kentucky, well, not close, but what came second to Kentucky was Tennessee fans, just because they were, up to the SEC tournament, they've been good, throughout this year. So like there was a lot of Tennessee fans, and I mean that's their home state, so you gotta expect that. But like still, that gap between first and second was huge. None of them still came close to Kentucky. And you know, once Tennessee lost or Friday morning, I kind of did my dance on them as well. Watched them all leave second time in 5 days apart. I was down there in Knoxville. I know you were too, Michael, and got to watch them leave their own arena early with like 4 minutes ago. It was so great. It was awesome, and I got to do it 5 days apart again in Bridgestone Arena. So I kind of did my flex on them, and I went to the top of the arena, got this cool video and picture so I could see it all happen at once, just to kind of soak in volunteers. Um, and then Kentucky was doing the same thing about 5, 6 hours later. They fell to Texas A&M 97-87, double digits. A game that they trailed out all but I think it was 41 seconds. I know it was less than a minute that they led in. An absolute just catch up game from the start that they never caught up in. A lot of things went wrong, a lot of disappointment, and I can kind of allude on my feelings in a minute, but I kind of want to get your all's quick reactions. Michael, we'll start with you. Cats, they're 1-5 in their last six SEC tournament games. A tournament that Cal used to run the tables in. He was 23-3 in his first 26 games there. Now he's 1-5 in the last six. Um, what are your thoughts on that, man? It was I hated to see it.
Well, it was what we were talking about, after the Tennessee game, where when your coach says this tournament doesn't matter, it's the big one that matters. It, as we said, like it's a valid point. The point makes sense, but it's hard to say that and then still expect your players to play like it's a must win when you say that. And then you see them lose in those effort stats, like points in the paint. We knew obviously they're a great offensive rebounding team, but you still give up more offensive boards, points in the paint, some turnovers and missed free throws. And you could just tell that they weren't as locked in. They didn't need it as much as Texas A&M needed it to, with them being a bubble team, and they just played harder. They were the better team and got the win. It's frustrating. And so I didn't know it was 23-3. That's wild. That record is pretty remarkable. I think,
It was.
well, he's just got to like, if he came out and said, look, guys, we're winning this thing. This is a must win. We got to win these three games. Then, you know, maybe they're tired next week or whatever. Maybe that's their hesitation. But it comes down to building a winner's mentality or a loser's mentality in your locker room. And if you are just comfortable with losing and not going all out and not like saying this is a mandatory must win, Like, we need to win this tournament, get this trophy. And it's just kind of embracing a little loser's mentality. Like, you need a winner's mentality in your locker room in March. And if you're going to give off the vibe that it doesn't matter, it's kind of what's going to happen. You're going to lose.
Yeah. Tim, I know you were right courtside, and I mean, thankfully, is one thing I like about the SEC tournament is media gets to sit right on the floor. So outside of the games that I get to take pictures, like I'm, Rep Arena, we're up there. It's still a heck of a view, but like SEC tournament, you got great access, all the whole 9 yards. But Tim, you were right under the goal right there. I can definitely say, in my opinion, from watching the warm-ups, I thought the players were ready to go. I thought DJ Wagner, I mean, he was out there getting hype, and I know they do that a lot, but like I didn't see any looking over it. I didn't see anything I definitely thought the players kind of were there. I know Cal wasn't, it doesn't think it's important, but I thought the players were like, we're here, let's win this. Tim, you were right there under the goal. What were your kind of takeaways as you watched it unfold, feet right in front of you?
I could agree with that. They did seem pretty hyped up before the game, but I would say as the game went on, their body language definitely changed. They did not seem like themselves, and I was gonna kind of compliment you, Michael. I think Trey Smith mentioned this to you, but you were asking Cal kind of the hard hitting questions there during his presser. As you mentioned, you asked him, how are you going to sit there and say, this doesn't matter and expect your players to have that same sort of mindset? And I fully agree. To sit there and say it doesn't matter is fully a loser's mentality, like you're saying, and that's something you do not want to have going into the SEC tournament. And I personally think game experience kind of outweighs practice. They may be tired, yes, but I kind of fear that this what I mean, it's almost a week. I'll just say a week's time with not playing will kind of affect us going into March.
Yeah.
Yeah, I I asked them in the presser that, and he gave a good bite. He was like, "Yeah, we were thinking about seeding," but he was like, "Well, I have won a lot of these." It's like, yeah, you have. You also haven't in last, what, 5 years. And like, I just it stuck out 2 years ago at the SEC tournament down in Tampa when they lost, and he was like, "It's okay, let's go home. I want to go see my dogs." It's like, whoa! And that was my first time covering the team. Like, that was my first season. So to hear that after losing a postseason tournament, and yeah, it's not the big tournament, but it's still important. And especially with this team, how inconsistent it's been. And if you have the opportunity to continue this streak you had of five straight and 8 out of the last nine, right, to close the regular season,
Yep.
if you can get that up to eight, with 3 wins that weekend, you have all the confidence in the world. And like, you can say that you still do, but we were in the locker room after that loss in Nashville, and that there was just not a lot of confidence in there. It was quiet. Guys were staring at the wall. Obviously they were upset that they lost. But it felt off in the sense that I think 3 wins in that and that trophy would have got these freshmen and all these guys like fully bought in, fully like, yes, we're the best team. Like, they're still gonna say they're the best team in the nation and they can beat anybody. Rob Dillingham said it at Cal's house on Sunday. But those 3 wins and that trophy would have probably made them the scariest team in the country.
Oh yeah, I mean, like you just mentioned it, they were playing their best basketball up until that game. I mean, they're a buzzer beater loss at LSU from winning, what is that, 9 straight, 8 straight, whatever that math checks out to be. But like they're playing phenomenal basketball. This is the best they played all year. They were right off a loss and won the last however many games of it. They just won at number 4 in Tennessee and on the road in Knoxville. 3 games before they won at Auburn. Auburn was on like a 16-game home winning streak. That environment was nuts. Like they were rolling. And the thing that really bothers me is like you cannot convince me there's another team in the SEC tournament that had more talent than Kentucky, especially Texas A&M. Not, it doesn't even compare. I mean, the only guy that could likely play professional is Wade Taylor, and you know he has to be the focus of your scouting on this team. He dropped 30 on you in College Station. Well, he dropped 32 on you this time. So whatever you had for him on your scouting report didn't work. You know, he had a field day. I think he had almost 20 around halftime. Like he just went off in the first half. Kind of cooled off in the second half, still dropped 32, led the entire game. Um, so whatever they were trying to do for him did not work. And then kind of look at Antonio Reeves. You know, he had 13 points. That's guy averages 20 a game. You know, things just did not go well for Kentucky, and there was a lot of things we could take away from this.
Yeah, Antonio getting in foul trouble was tough. You know, and I know fans are gonna, complain about the refs. And yeah, they were talking about that one ref that had all the calls. Every whistle was against Kentucky. Like, but at the end of the day, you just can't you can't blame refs. And like, I'm not gonna blame refs for Antonio either. Like in the second half, you have three fouls. You cannot put your hand on a guy's back when he's trying to rebound the basketball and you're behind him. Like he didn't push him. He didn't. It wasn't like probably wasn't like a true foul, but you still put your hand on his back as you were trying to go get that rebound. Like that's a foul. Like you're gonna get called for your fourth, and you gotta be smarter than that because they needed Antonio. They needed him to get hot because Rob was hitting buckets, but there wasn't really anyone else doing that much. Reed had a good first half, but not really. He wasn't really himself second half. And like Antonio was the guy where it's like, okay, Antonio and Rob are gonna bring you back in this game down 16. Um, and then they clawed back to like 8, but then Antonio picks up his fourth. I don't know where that happened chronologically. I would have to go back and look when he picked up that fourth, but um, that's tough. You need him. You need him to score 20. Basically, that's what has been working. And yeah, that's a good point about Wade. Like he was getting wide open looks, from deep. Like I don't know how you don't trap him. I don't know how you don't double him after he hits one. Once he hits his first, it's like, all right, we're not letting this guy cook, because he did cook in the first matchup. So I just thought weren't. They didn't even put him in too many ball screens. I think there was one where they got cooked on a ball screen and he was left open. But a couple of them were just like transition buckets, like throwing it to Wade ahead. That guy's scary. You got to put two men on him. You got to put two guys on him to slow him down and force what's his name, Boots, or one of their other guys to try to kill you because he will kill you. He did it once, and you got to just trap him from when you're on the perimeter. And I guess that's going to be a problem for this team is defending guards.
Yeah.
It's been a problem.
Tim, what would you say if you had a guess? Well, actually, let me preface this question. Tennessee fans were out the door. Some of them stuck around, but like when it came down for when Kentucky was playing, it was a home game. I mean, that crowd was phenomenal. Like, maybe recency bias, but like maybe it was also because I was right on the floor. But like that was the loudest I've heard a Kentucky environment all season long, outside of specific home moments when things were going. But like the whole game, I would probably go with 85% UK fans. I mean, Tim, how many blue did you see in the crowd? Like, if you
Oh,
could percentage.
uh, I would say right around 85, close, maybe even closer to 90. I mean, probably
Yeah.
3 minutes till tip. There's still a bunch of open seats, but I saw a Twitter post, just the horde of blue that was outside of those doors, all trying to get in and get to their seats. I mean, it was insane out there, and I think a lot of that, there's the whole joke of what, like 60% of rep arenas all older people, and they don't get rowdy, and um I'm not gonna say that's fully true, but there you have a lot more of your dedicated fans that are gonna make that travel. Fans in the Bowling Green, even Tennessee areas that can't make the trip up to Rupp every single game, that we're able to make that trip. So I would say that definitely played part in it. And even Saturday when we were still out after the whole loss and everything, we still saw quite a bit of blue. So I mean, several fans still stuck around and try to have fun, have as much fun as they could, I guess.
So now we've all talked about this. It was no doubt a home court environment. No doubt we have a lot more talent on this roster. I mean, listen, we have two top five projected picks off the bench. Like that's where our talent level's at. Plenty of future draft picks on this team. A Hall of Fame coach, 3 hours from home. Like you tell me we can't win that game, and in a tournament that's ours. Like outside of the last handful of years, I mean, you might as well call it the Kentucky tournament. Like Kentucky waxed teams every year there. Like you tell me we couldn't win that game, and not only that we lost by double digits, and we were down almost double digits the entire game. Like I mean, am I wrong for being really mad about that? Like I'm not
No,
trying.
I thought you guys were gonna win Friday. I thought you guys were gonna actually. I thought you could have lost to Bama Saturday. I think we talked about it on the pod. I was a little nervous about the Bama Saturday game, and then they lose. They lose to Florida. The Kentucky Tennessee rematch would have been really cool, but Auburn, they got hot. The Kentucky Auburn rematch would have been good. That would have been a great Sunday game. And it was a dud. You went one and done again, which is pretty surprising, to do that back to back years, to just go and have a home game and be one and done against teams that like weren't even really anything crazy. Like if that Vandy team last year was not like, I don't know how you lost to them twice. And this A&M team, barely gets in the tournament, maybe wouldn't have without that win. That's a huge win for them. To pick that up, and then they got what, a 9 or a 8 A&M.
They're seeding. In the NCAA tournament, I think it was 9.
Yeah, that 9. I don't. They were saying they were on the bubble, before that game. So they wanted it more. It is what it is. It's over. I think we know the problems with this team. Like, the problem is you give any team confidence that if they just get hot, they can beat you. Oakland can just get hot, and like then it could just be over. Then it's St. Peter's again. St. Peter's got hot. Teams can just get hot in the tournament, and when you don't have a reliable defense that can slow teams down, scary. It makes it hit or miss. This team could go to the Elite Eight and lose to Houston, or it could lose in the second round to Texas Tech. It's or go to Phoenix, but that it seems unlikely against a team like Houston, where that's a tough 1 seed to get put in. If North Carolina was the 1 seed, that the Cats already beat them. I think they could beat them again for sure. But Houston's so like sound fundamentally. I know they got beat pretty good this week, but it's a scary team. But you can't even think ahead to them, right? You got to think about just getting out of the first weekend for the first time since 2019, which I think they will. I think they're going to get hot. I think Rob and Reed are going to bounce back, and Antonio will bounce back. I think you'll probably get like a surprise big game from one of the bigs, and then you'll be good to get out of the first weekend. But we'll see.
Michael, you bring up a good point, and I think I kind of feel the same way too. Like I'm not penciling Kentucky in to have a deep run. I'm really not. I talked to Tim about it after the game. Like I'm just my confidence. It's not out the door by any means, but like there was a point in this year around the Georgia game in the middle of the year where I was like, I was ready to talk the talk. Like I was like, this team's gonna be Final Four at its floor. Like, and now I feel like this team has the potential to make hit Sweet 16, and in my opinion, best case Elite Eight, and I think their consistency runs out. But like, I'm really concerned when it's March and we're giving up 97 points. Texas A&M has only scored more than 90 twice this year. Can you guess who they were against?
That's a great stat. Yeah, it's a real stat.
Twice, not 91, 97, almost 100 twice, and against Kentucky. Teams are just, I mean, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. Teams are naming their points against Kentucky. That's not where I want to be relying on as we go into a tournament that's a lot of randomness. You've got to have consistency to win. You got to win 6 straight. You can't, it's not a 1 game basis. Like you've got to find a way to have consistency. And they had it up until this game outside of still giving up all these points, but they were still finding ways to win. It concerns me. It concerns me if we're in March and we're giving up that many points, something's got to be up, and the offensive rebounding and just the kind of tic-tac stuff, the little fouls. Like our foul management's not the best. Like Antonio Reeves is our go-to scorer. Like we shouldn't be riding 4 fouls in the last 10 minutes of the game. Like I know some of that's out of the player's control and some of it is, but like I'm not sure, man. And my thing is like, and we can, if y'all got more points on the A&M, we can definitely hit that. But I did want to kind of talk about the post game stuff. So before I kind of get to what I kind of got to, so I didn't put this out on social media, but I saw it right there face to face because of the access they give us. Did y'all have any more final points on kind of like the game before we hit that?
I don't
So
really think so. No. I was gonna mention just like one little funny story. I think I told this to you, Trace, about how there's nothing like really entertaining at all about that game, sitting courtside at all. But some of the pros sitting courtside is that you get to hear a lot of things that you would never hear on TV. And I can't remember who the A&M player was, but Rob was he was rebounding for a free throw, when he was able to get the A&M guy to commit a lane violation. And so he started teasing him. I just kept hearing him tease him and tease him and tease him. He's like, I got your ass earlier, like saying all that stuff. That was probably like the only highlight of that game for me personally.
that's hilarious. Um,
Rob
now,
chirps. Rob loves to chirp. It's funny. That dude is
hey,
funny when he's out there.
if you can back up your talking, I'm all for it. Like I love watching someone talk their talk, like because they're having a night, and like Rob's got all the authority to talk. I mean, he can put up the most points of anybody. I'm all for it. Kind of a rough transition, but like, okay, so Kentucky loses. I'm over in the tunnel waiting for the team to come off, and I didn't want to be the one. I put out a tweet about it, but I didn't put out the video. I just didn't want to be the one to put the video out. Cal was walking off the court. I'm right here in this tunnel. The players, I mean the Kentucky fans are right up here above me, and I hear this one fan was letting him have it. He goes, "Is this the gold standard? Please leave." And I was just like, plain as day, Cal heard it. I mean, you didn't have to try to hear it. And just kind of thinking about the 1-5 in the last six SEC tournament games, this isn't the gold standard. And things need to be changed about the SEC tournament because there's a lot of. I mean, we've already talked about the fans that went down there. It means a lot to everybody. We talked about it on last week's pod. It means you can't even describe how much it means. These people, they spend their yearly trips to this. Like there's people that this is their family vacations. They don't go to the beach. They go to this. They come there for the entire weekend, expecting them to be there until Sunday watching basketball. And Friday night, their schedules are empty. What do we do? Do we go back home and lose out on our hotel and reservations on Saturday and Sunday? Do we sit here and figure out something else to do because no one wanted to sit there and watch the other teams play? I mean, your team's out. Why would you? It's a bummer. There's a lot of fans that were really, really upset that were there on Friday night, ready to go full force, and their weekend's empty like that for another year, consecutive years. It's not just like a one-off thing. And then kind of segue into the locker room situation. We got in there, and as you expect, they're all down in the dumps and wanted to win that game, and that was hard to deal with. You go in a locker room where like this team was just rolling the game before, and we got to talk to the players, and they're all kind of down and real bummed out, and you know I didn't enjoy it. The whole outside of that, we can get into our Nashville trip. Like, that was the whole weekend was fun outside of the Kentucky game. If I'm being honest, it's just kind of a sad night. Another loss in the SEC tournament.
Well, I feel like in the locker room, the guys, it's tough because this team is young, still so young. Like the ups and downs, you can sense it. You can sense it around the team, body language, whatever. Guys walking off the court with a towel over their head. But I wish, maybe it's up to the upperclassmen to step up a little bit more. Antonio, he's more of like a quieter guy. He's the leader, but he's quieter. Trey's kind of quieter too, but those guys are good leaders, but maybe it's that, the ups and downs, the lack of confidence. They know that they can just go crazy and score 118 points and beat anybody on any given night. But I think there might be some doubts creeping in among some of the guys. You couldn't sense it. They didn't say anything like that when you were talking to them. Everything they said, that wasn't clear, but you can just kind of sense it. They're young and a little unsure about what they are still. They by this point in the year, you need to have your identity set, and I think it's still like a little too malleable to where there's not really too much that you can hang your hat on and know what you're getting in every single game. You really don't know with this team, and it could help them in a scenario like this where the tournament, quick scouting, unfamiliar opponents. They're out of this conference, which is a really good conference, playing some other teams that haven't seen them yet. That could be a really good thing. And UK could look amazing in both of these games and could look amazing against Marquette in the Sweet 16. And then you have a juggernaut battle against Houston probably. But I think that can help them. I think the tournament style might help them. It should have been Nashville, but they just lost that first game. And you heard Cal say it after the game, like once you win the first one, you can kind of get rolling. And they just couldn't win the first one. But if you beat Oakland 2 days, beat Texas Tech or NC State, I think that could give them a lot more confidence and be like, all right, at that point, it's 4 more wins. It's just 4. Yeah, it's hard, but it's just 4 where you score 100 points. If they feel like they know they can do that, then it'll give this young team confidence. But there's some big moments ahead, so they need to be strong, and the upperclassmen need to help them out. But they haven't been in those environments either. Antonio Reeves played in 2 tournament games last year. That's it. Trey barely played in much. West Virginia and wherever he was before, like that, these guys don't have the reps, so they're just kind of flying in blind. And when you don't have like a concrete identity as a team, then you're just kind of flying. And so we'll see if it works or not.
Michael, I'm glad you brought me to my next point. At Cal's, he invites the media over to watch the selection Sunday, and they interviewed Rob after the Kentucky found out where they were going, and they asked him about their confidence level following a loss going into a tournament where you've got to win 6 straight, and he goes, we don't lack confidence. He said we usually go, I think his exact quote was, we usually. I can't remember his quote, but he's like, we usually go on a run fresh off a loss. And I went to go look back, and I was like, yeah, the last time they lost before Texas A&M was at LSU. They won 5 straight, 5 solid games straight. So that kind of gives me a little, hope. They just fresh off a loss. They're hungry. He's like, we don't lack confidence. Like, we can go win, and we usually do off a loss. So, I mean, I like that at least they're not afraid of the moment, and they're not kind of having a hangover from the Texas A&M loss. Hopefully they move on past it. You know how these guys are. This year flies by as freshmen, and you can just move on from game to game. So hope they figure that one out. And I think, Tim, we talked about after the game as well. It kind of bummed me out, or kind of a little bit more concerned me, because we watched Tennessee lose, we watched Alabama lose, then Kentucky's up. And those are the 2 teams I was most worried about. I mean, there was a couple other ones, but like Tennessee, I thought had it penciled in. I thought we were going to see them again in the SEC tournament. They lose Bama, and it opens up for you. You just got to kind of worry about Texas A&M, the team you're playing, who's beat you before, but surely you could come out and beat them again. Maybe Florida, maybe Auburn, even though you're fresh off of just beating them. And they were clunker, just kind of like we've seen in the NCAA tournament over the years. The bracket opens up like that. I almost would rather the bracket not open up, because it don't ever help us. Every year that in recent memory, it's like, yes, that team lost. We were worried about them, and it opens up and we go lose the next game. So that was a little bit of concern for me too. And they went out and did that exact thing. But kind of getting past this, we can only say so much about, yes, we lost in the SEC tournament. Cal doesn't care. We care, but like, what are we going to do about it? On to the NCAA tournament. And first, we do need to hit this ad break, but right when we get back, I want y'all to kind of get your thoughts ready. We'll talk about our boys and night out to Nashville to kind of forget about the Kentucky basketball game. So we'll be right back in just a second.
For those of you watching on the Cats Coverage YouTube page, I wanted to give a massive shout out to our sponsor, Bottoms Engineering. Now, you all may not have heard of Bottoms Engineering before, but you've definitely run over them a few times, as they've been serving the bridge and highway industry since 1967. They make traveling across the state for you and your loved ones on the roads much, much safer. Again, huge thank you to Bottoms Engineering for helping us go down to Nashville and cover the SEC tournament for our audience. Please go check them out at Bottoms Engineering and Service and Corporations at their Facebook. I've listed the link down in the description below. Again, massive thank you. Back to the episode.
All right, we're back. And now we can get to what's fun. Our everything else outside of Kentucky basketball and the weekend down in the music city of Nashville. Um, so boys, we decided we had to get over that game. We didn't want to, I wrote an article after the game where I'm becoming kind of used to it, and that's not where I want to be. But I know for a lot of the other people, a lot of people who spent the weekend down in the dumps. We were adamant not to. We decided to go out to the big city, on the big road of Broadway to go see all the country bars and the music and all the Kentucky fans out there. There was a bunch of them mingling around and meet some people. And so first, fresh off covering the game, we hit the town and Michael's still in a suit. He's walking down there in a suit and a tie. I mean, without the jacket that goes over the top, but he's all dressed up. Me and Tim we're in our kind of more casual, laid back. Let's get into it. Where do we start off first? It was Kid Rock's.
No, it was what
Honky
was it?
Tonk Central.
Yeah, yeah, that's where we went to first.
Had some drinks, went out there with a big group of people. Michael, what's your kind of memories of that night, that first night?
Oh, well, Kid Rock's is amazing, obviously. But Honky Tonk Central, I think I'd only been once before. So, that was a cool spot. I didn't even go upstairs. I think that's got 3 levels to it, but we didn't even go upstairs. I think we just stayed down, got a few drinks, and then went to Kid Rock's. There was a line. Man, it was bumping. Broadway was bumping for sure. There were so many people.
Yeah, Tim. We all had some drinks. Had a bunch of media friends. Got to kind of really go out. Got to meet Jeff. How do you say his last name again, Michael?
Oro from ABC.
I always mess it up, but I've not got to meet him before. He seems real cool, and a bunch of other people that you all work with, in the TV station. But Tim, what's your takeaways on the big night on the town?
Yeah, I mean, this was really just my first full year as a media member, so it was pretty nice to actually get out there and get to know some more media members, kind of outside the whole media perspective. And yeah, I mean, it was a fun night. I'm glad we were able to get out there and have some fun after a loss like that. And me and Aaron Gershon were kind of talking, just saying like, oh, we just need to forget about that game, and just have a fun night before March comes.
Yeah. Michael, you remember Feathers? Remember what was that? What did she have on there? She was the one with feathers everywhere.
Yeah, there were feathers. You met some fantastic new friends. And
Some stuff we gotta keep off of the pod. But
we
no details.
we met some fantastic friends.
Yeah,
And yeah, man, that crowd was electric. The band was electric. Um, Nashville never disappoints. Broadway never disappoints.
ain't it crazy how much goes on down there? Like there's, oh my gosh, I mean, there's 40 something different. Like each building's got 5 or 6 floors, and there's a concert on every single floor. And there's thousands of people. And just it blows my mind. Like there's endless things. You can just go bar hopping the whole night and hit 10% of the whole place. And it's good music, good people. Everybody's in a good mood because they're all out of towners. It was spring break. I just found that out when we were down there. I was like, I met these people, all these people from all these other schools. I'm like, why are you all here? Like, what's going on? Why is everybody here? They didn't give any crap about sports. They didn't know that SEC tournament was going on. I thought, how we are, we get obsessed with this. I'm like, who'd you come here to watch? What team? What are you talking about? They're like, we're on spring break. Tomorrow's St. Patrick's Day on Sunday. I didn't know either of those two things. I told you, I'm sometimes hide under a rock, so I had no clue that any of those things are going on. But then Michael, we had a good time Friday night, and then you had to, I think, head back to Chicago on Saturday. But me and Tim got convinced. We decided to go catch a couple games on Saturday at Bridgestone Arena before we headed out. I mean, we have passes to go there. I had no whole lot else to do back at home, so we caught a couple games. Kind of thought about, reflect on Kentucky's thoughts again, while we were sitting there. But then we got convinced to stay out in Nashville for one more night. And we've kind of talked about a little bit off the podcast, and we'll kind of have to continue some of those. But Saturday night might have been even more wild than Friday. I just kind kind of got to go out and meet some people. And poor Tim, he's not poor Tim. I'm actually jealous of him. He's got to get married soon. He kind of stayed off in the corner by himself. But I kind of went. Me just.
You make me sound like I was like some creep or some loner in a bar or
Oh no, no,
something.
no. What I'm trying to say is Tim's a loyal dude who respects that. He's got him a girl at home, and I was so envious of that. But for me, being single, it was a wild night. We got to meet a lot of people and kind of got to shake
Yeah,
a lot of hands.
I was wingmaning that whole night, but yeah, we got to
Here
meet
you
several
go.
people. I met somebody from United Kingdom. He was here studying uh I think it was cybersecurity. I don't know where he was going to school, but he was in town, so that was pretty nice. But yeah, I mean it was still a fun night. Got to go out and kind of just dance the night away, forget about the game again, and because I mean we knew we had one more night, so I guess go out with a bang.
Yeah, we walked the streets of Nashville. We didn't Uber back. We just took the walk back home 2 miles. Uh, Lamborghinis passing us, Ferraris. Um, People drunk out of their mind. Like it's such a wild scene, and I could only imagine if for someone who ventures down there sober and kind of really pick up on everything, kind of stuff the takeaways because we caught a lot of things, and I know I wasn't sober. Um, but anyways, that's a lot of stuff we got to keep off the podcast. But man, Nashville was a blast as it always is. I knew it was going to be. If we could have just left with more than one basketball game, it would have been that much more fun. Um, but kind of segueing past the Nashville experience, and I cannot wait for next year until we get back. Just like all fans think about all year long. Kind of, Kentucky found out where they're going for the actual dance, the big dance, the tournament that Cal cares about. They got a 3 seed in the South region. They play a Thursday night, 7:10 p.m. and they're playing a 14 seed Oakland Golden Grizzlies. When they said Oakland, I was like, who the heck's that? They're the Golden Grizzlies, and they're based out of Michigan, not California. Um, I know absolutely nothing about them. I prepared to dive into them tonight. Um, but like, looking at the bracket, we got Houston number one, Houston number two, Marquette number four, Duke number seven, Florida, I believe, in our side of the bracket. Did Texas A&M make it in our bracket? I felt like I heard that too.
No,
I'm not sure.
no. Who's the 8-9? I forget who's the
Yeah,
8-9.
I'll pull
Not
it.
not A&M.
I'll pull it up real quick, but while I'm pulling it up, I was okay with the draw. Like I kind of was. How did you all like your quick takeaway about the region that we got put in?
I'll go first. It's kind of hard to think about the region whenever you haven't had that much success in the past few years, you know. So my worry is really just those first two games, and we'll dive a little more into the Golden Bears, or Golden Grizzlies, here soon. But Houston's, we're talking about them earlier. They were a pretty well orchestrated team. So I mean, it could be a tough matchup. I can't say if I would rather go up against. Well, UNC is. I don't know how I would rank the first seeds, but I kind of wish we did have UNC again because we know that we beat them earlier in the season. So I think a matchup would be pretty fun in my eyes, but it's an okay region overall. Like I said, it's just those first two games that I'm worried about first.
My
Yeah. Greg Campy, he's a good coach. He in the Horizon League, they play Michigan State every year, and they always give Michigan State like a good game, even when Michigan State's good. Like I think my freshman year is my freshman or sophomore year. Might have been my freshman year with like Denzel Valentine, Bryn Forbes, Matt Costello. That was a really good Michigan State team. They were the 2 seed and then lost to Middle Tennessee State in that crazy upset. But like Oakland almost beat them. They had a dude, Kay Felder, good like small guard. He had a little bit of time in the NBA. So, there's not a lot of talent in the Horizon League, but um, like Detroit Mercy and a lot of teams that aren't too good. But Oakland's got a solid culture there. Greg Campy's been there a while, and then Cal. I heard Cal saying that he's pretty cool with him. He's known him for a while. So there's mutual respect there, and they'll be feisty. But I think UK, especially coming off a loss, they'll be ready to rock. They're probably I could see them winning this game by like 30 plus. I mean, I think they're gonna roll, and then they'll just get hot. They're gonna score. Like I was talking about with identity earlier, like it'd be nice if this team had like a rock solid identity. Like, perimeter defense, great. Like opposing guards, good luck. They don't have that. Interior defense, you got Ugo who can protect the rim, but really not much. It's like other teams like, okay, this paint is ours. Like you're not getting in this paint. That's not UK. A lot of teams get points in the paint and offensive rebounds on them. And so, it's really just like, are they going to score? Are they going to shoot? If they can defend, that's nice, but you just can't expect it at all. So the only thing you can expect is that they're going to hit threes, really good 3-point shooting team, right? Obviously, Reed leading the nation and in 3-point percentage. So I think they'll score a lot on Oakland and roll. Antonio will get back. Maybe you throw in like a really good DJ Wagner game, or maybe like an Aaron Bradshaw game. This is going to be an opportunity to get deeper on the bench. Play 9 guys, and so Aaron should have a moment, or Z want to and maybe Trey Mitchell. Like Cal was really rolling with Trey in that game against A&M, and you can tell Trey's a little slower. That back is, bugged him for a while, and the shoulder, you can tell he's not what he used to be. Teams used to double Trey Mitchell in the post. Like they don't do that anymore. Like, I mean, they did like a couple times, but like Trey was a really legit threat before. So if Cal like keeps trying to work him, give him those minutes, I think someone's gonna have like a surprise, like big game, which will be a good story for that first round game. And then, I personally think NC State's magic is gonna run out. They obviously went crazy. They winning the ACC tournament. They had to do it to get in, and they got in. So I think their magic's gonna run out. So then you're just looking at a Texas Tech game, and Big 12 teams are scary. So that'll be a tough matchup too.
I really like that it's in Pittsburgh. I mean, that's Cal's hometown. That's his home area, city. That's his stomping grounds. Like that man's full of connections. Like he's gonna have like that's if you're not gonna pick, somewhere. I mean, I think it's only like 5 or 6 hours away, but like that's Cal City. Like it's his stomping grounds. Adu the Arrows from up that way. I think one more player. I can't
Trey
remember
Mitchell.
Trey Mitchell.
Yep.
Orlando Antigua's from there, somewhere in that area as well. Like there's a lot of connections there. So I mean, if you're gonna, I would rather have something like that where you have some type of connection than some random town out west that you have no connection to, and then some Kentucky fans don't get to make that far of a trip. So this is drivable. Who knows what that turnout will be like. I know Kentucky fans will still travel, but if some are still down in the dumps, I'm not sure. There's a lot of fans that are still on this team, and so am I. But it's drivable. It's in Pittsburgh. I like the location. It's a good time. Set 7:10, right in prime time Thursday night. Doesn't feel like a whole lot of pressure of being like a Saturday afternoon. I did want to kind of look at I was gonna go over the first few games in the whole South region. So it does look like Texas A&M is. I thought I heard that they're playing Nebraska. Texas A&M is a 9 seed. They got down in Memphis. But let's start at the beginning. We got number 1 Houston versus number 16 Longwood. Sorry. Number 2 Marquette. Number 15 Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers. They punched the ticket. They won their conference tournament. I'm going to be pulling for them. Number 3 Kentucky versus 14 Oakland. Number 4 Duke versus 13 Vermont. Let's see. Sorry, I'm having to switch through 2 different pictures. Number 5 Wisconsin versus number 12 James Madison. Number 6.
Watch out for James Madison, man.
Yeah.
They've been one of the best mid majors all year. They beat Michigan State in East Lansing. James Madison's been really good all year. Yeah, watch out for them.
And a solid matchup right here. Number 6 Texas Tech. Number 11 NC State. If Kentucky beats Oakland, That's who we got next. One of those two, as we just mentioned a minute ago. Number 7, Florida, just went to the championship of the SEC tournament.
They're hot.
Playing great basketball right now. I know they got their big man injured. I hated to see that, so they're going to be down a little bit from that. But for number 7, Florida versus number 10, Boise State or Colorado, whoever wins that playing game, and we're almost there. Number 8, Nebraska. Number 9, Texas A&M. Number that is everybody, I believe. Yes. So I mean, some solid names there, some solid matchups, and like you mentioned earlier, Tim, if Kentucky beats Oakland, which I expect them to, I know I think we all kind of agreed on that a minute ago. NC State versus Texas Tech, both solid programs. NC State just won 5 games in 5 days, and didn't they beat North Carolina in the title game? Yeah, I thought they beat them, right? Remember seeing that. I'm kind of afraid of them. I know Kentucky's way better, but they got a big man that who can I do the arrows our best chance to go against him, and I'm not picking him to win that battle. That he's huge. I mean, he's like 6'10", 300 something pounds. Like he can play football right now in the SEC, and he's playing basketball. And then you got Texas Tech, which I don't know a whole lot about, but I know they've been relevant all year long. They've been in the top 25 for most of the year. I know we can't look past the first game, but like let's do it for a moment and think about that matchup's still going to be hard. Like, and that's also kind of what happens when you drop these 9 games throughout this year with this talent of a team. You lose to UNC Wilmington at home. You lose in the first game of the SEC tournament. Like you don't do yourself a whole lot of favors when it comes in terms of seeding. Thankfully we got a kind of an easier matchup. I thought we were going to get a lot harder matchup in this first game, but like the second game is going to be just even. It's going to be even harder as it keeps on going. And then you got number 1 Houston, you got Marquette, Florida. I mean Texas A&M. Like there's a lot of talent in this South region of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, Houston's scary, man. That's just scary. But to get to the Elite Eight, first, let's get there. I mean, let's get out the first weekend. I that a Duke Kentucky Elite Eight game though would be insane. That would be obviously with the history, that would be fantastic. But yeah, it's a manageable region. I didn't want the Cats to have to play Zach Edey, and obviously Purdue kind of always chokes in March, so we'll see how far they even get. But this Purdue team is pretty scary with Edey, so it's pretty good to avoid them. And you get Marquette as a 2 seed. That's better than Tennessee. I wouldn't really want to see Tennessee again for a third time. Who are the other twos? Who are the other twos? I'm blanking now. I gotta pull up the bracket, but I think Marquette as a 2 is pretty manageable. And but yeah, as Tim said, we are jumping ahead too far because Texas Tech could certainly knock them off. But I don't know. I think they're gonna be. I think they're gonna come out hot. They'll roll Oakland. And then this is a big moment for the program for Cal. Man, you got to get out of the first weekend, first time
Have
since
to.
2019. So, I think they will. I I have confidence in them. But you got uh you got Tennessee and then Arizona. I'm not really big on Arizona. Iowa State's good. That would have been a scary 2 seed, Iowa State. So, um, what do you guys think about UConn? I really don't like. A lot of people are having them to repeat. I don't know if I see it.
I'm glad we're avoiding them. I said that a couple weeks ago. Like that's one team that I don't know if Kentucky can be. I'm more high on them than you have, but I've kind of caught a couple of big time games they've had this year, and they were dominant in them. I've not only watched probably like 3 or 4 of them, but like UConn's been up, I think in the top 10 all year long. Like they've been up, like they've been as relevant as anyone all year long. I think they've
Yeah.
only lost what 3 games maybe or something like that. But UConn, that was the one that if you had to tell me who do you want to avoid the most, that's who I was going with. I'm glad we avoid them. Tim, kind of looking at our region real fast, like, is there a team that you're concerned about, or like what's the good and bads about our region that you kind of after getting a glimpse of the South region?
I mean, I'm an overthinker. I don't know if you ever heard that about or noticed that about me. So it's gonna sound weird, but I'm over here looking at the season totals or season stats for the Golden Grizzlies, and I gotta say, it opens my eyes a little bit because Terry Townsend might be a name that you've heard. He seems to kind of be their facilitator in a way. He leads the team in almost every single stat. But if Kentucky loses this game, it's going to be because of this guy. I think his name is Jack Go Hike. So I'm looking at his season totals and field goals made. He has 125, and 3 pointers attempted is 121. So 4 of his total field goals made this entire season were not threes. So this
Yeah.
guy's a shooter.
Yeah.
So if they lose that game, it's gonna be because of that guy right there.
Man, there's no excuse for dropping another game like this. Like Kentucky needs to roll this team and keep building on their confidence and get back in the win column because there's so much pressure on this run. And it ain't and I feel bad for these players because it's not their fault. You know, it's more of a Cal pressure and his legacy, just not trying to eat away at how good he was in his first half of these years. But all these players are the ones that got to fight through all that. And again, back to the point I've been hitting on all year, the talent difference between these two teams don't even come close. Not even close. You'll never hear about another guy on this Oakland roster again, and outside of this game. This is going to be the biggest game that any of them ever played in. Go out there and assert your dominance. Show put up a million points. They've done it on the road and at home this year, and they played honestly better on the road. There's I cannot think of any world where like it's okay to lose this game. There's no excuse for it. Cal just said last night, he's like, I don't have no pressure. What do you mean? He's like, yeah, we've won a lot of these games. That was his exact word. A lot of these games in the NCAA tournament, and he just said, we're built for March. Let's go out and prove it. Those exact words. Those are his words. He said, we're built for March. Let's go out and prove it. Let's see it. Don't drop another first round game because this fan base is going to be very, very toxic. It's going to be a very miserable offseason if you don't get out of the first weekend.
I was wondering. I'm looking at James Madison right here, 31-3. When was it? They made it to like the Final Four, like several years ago, didn't they? Quite a few years ago.
Let's
I
see,
mean, I don't know. It might. I want to say James Madison did.
I think you're thinking of George Mason.
That's what it is. Oh yeah, that's what it is. You're
Similar.
right. You're right. You're right.
But
Somewhat,
yeah,
somewhat close there.
no, it's been a big year for James Madison. They just for football, they had college game day, right? So they're pumped up. Yeah, I don't. Wisconsin got hot there in the Big Ten tournament too. So, um, and then Florida, I wouldn't really want to see them again. Clayton dropped dropped how many on your head, including the game winner, or was it the game tying shot and to send it to overtime? He
Yeah,
hit it
game
over
time
Reed.
shot. Yep.
Yeah, Reed was too late closing out. That dude cooked in the second half, and then that game in Gainesville was close too. So, but man, at this point, everyone's good, but so is UK. Those boys are good. Um, I hope DJ um, kind of is more aggressive, and uh, and I hope Reed just takes over more control facilitating. I want him to be just like he was at Tennessee. Just rolling, um, facilitating. It seemed like he just took command of the game on both ends of the floor. But especially like on offense, I feel like um, they stuck with DJ like a little too much in the A&M loss. I think like Reed and Rob should be the guys that are facilitating. Rob, his ability to maneuver pick and rolls is like really impressive. I think, he should be running every pick and roll and, Reed too. So I think they know that works and that will get them offense, instant offense. Um, the bigs, I don't know, man. Ugo just can't score, and it's not like you need him to score. But um, if he can protect the rim, he's kind of like, you feel better having him out there than Z. Because I know Z gives you a little bit more offense, but he gets lost sometimes. On defense there in the paint, and so I think if you have four scorers with Ugo there manning the middle, I think that's a pretty damn good lineup. It's gonna be hard to beat that in March, even with all the inconsistencies.
Cal just said last night he's got a couple of tweaks left, is what he said, and he said he might bring out two 7-footers to. He said he knows it's going to decrease the offense, but he thinks it's going to protect the rim and make it a lot harder for teams to score. How do y'all feel about that? Two seven
Well,
footers?
it just didn't work before. He tried it, once Z came back, and then but like Aaron never was comfortable with it. It's like it would have to be Z because he at least has the ability to space the floor a little bit. He has a 3-point shot threat where like they have to respect it a little bit. But if you have like Aaron and Ugo in there, that's just, I mean, Aaron's made like what, 1 3, a couple threes. He's got a good little mid range game, but um, I don't see it. I feel like Ugo, that he can, be a good blocker there in the middle, and then Z comes in, and Aaron, well, he didn't play against A&M, or
Two
did he?
minutes,
Oh, 2 minutes.
2 minutes in a block. He got
And
Yeah,
in that
he
time.
and
wasn't available
and he
yet.
played like 3 minutes at Tennessee, like 3 or 4. That's it. So he's almost a zero now, which is pretty wild. But um, I don't love the two big lineup. I think he's probably not gonna do it. I think he's just kind of saying it anyways. If he does a two big lineup, it's gonna be for like 3 minutes, and then it'll just be Trey. And if he's counting Trey, I don't think he's counting Trey. I think he's saying the two 7-footers, which maybe he tries, but I think he will keep rolling with the Trey and a big. That could work. And it would probably be Trey and Ugo. That works with your three guys of Reed, Robin, Antonio. I guess that's your best bet.
Tim,
I
what's your thoughts
was
on the 7-footer two combo thing?
I was just gonna say overall, I feel like it's a little too late to be making those type of tweaks. I think by now you should be figuring out what works best for your team.
I was just about you just I was that was my next point. It's March. We're still making tweaks. Like
Yeah.
I'm not a coach, but like it's March, man. The regular season and part of the postseason is already over. Why are we still tweaking? Like, why was this not figured out a month ago? You've had everybody available for a month, their last month. Like, it ain't like we just got somebody back. Like, why are we still tweaking in March?
Yeah. If you wanted to make some tweaks, maybe you should have won some more SEC tournament games to make those
Why
tweaks
not
in.
tweak it down there and get prepared for the thing that matters? Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't love it either. If I was a coach, I think you're so top heavy with your guards and you can put up so many points. Ride with that. Don't try to make a tweak right now, like because you're trying to see if it will work. You don't know. We know we've seen proven what has worked time after time. Not the entire season, but most of the season. You got four impressive guards between DJ Wagner, Reed Shepard, Rob Dillingham, and Antonio Reeves. Have three of the four of them in at all times, and that fourth guy switching in with someone and just constant rotation. Let them all get as many shots as they want and get hot. And then if you can get Trey Mitchell, I mean, you got Trey Mitchell, Bradshaw, Z, and Ugo to switch out. Find somebody who's getting going and ask them to get you 10 points, 8 points. And another guy that switches out with them get you 2 or 4. Like, that's all you really need from them. Have your other guys put up 75 points. You got four guys who could put up 25, 30 points a night. Like, let them cook, man. You know it will work. Like, don't be, why are we tweaking in March?
Yeah, it's matchups too, because you need to give Edwards, his chances. Justin Edwards had a really strong last month of the regular season, and he just didn't do much against A&M. I don't know what he finished with, but it wasn't a lot.
Yeah.
And him and Adu, really didn't do a ton, but both of those guys are really good wings that you want to have in March, especially if they're hitting shots too. Like they can defend other teams' good wings, especially a Duke. And Justin, I mean, his defense has gotten better too, but Adu's for sure. So you need him on the floor, especially because you're trying to get better defensively and not score 90 points. So or not give up 90 points. So you need Adu and you need Reed to just lock in with Ugo. Like those having those three like strong defensive players can hopefully cover up, what you're missing with, Rob a little bit defensively um and then whoever would be your fifth, if it's Trey, who's as we've seen, kind of slower. So that's why pairing him with Ugo to protect that rim helps. Um, we'll see.
One of my takeaways last night from watching all the selection show stuff was a lot of the national media they were still picking Kentucky to go pretty far, farther than I think the local media is. At least I can speak for myself. Like there's a lot of national people like Dick Vitale has Kentucky winning it all. Um, Jeff Goodman has them going to the Final Four or something like that. Um, Seth Greenberg has him go to the title game and losing to UConn. Like there's a lot of the national media people are still pushing them to go farther than us. So that's always. I mean, at least everybody's not down in the dumps on them. And not to let me backtrack on that. I'm not down in the dumps. Like I think they can. I just have their ceiling being the Elite Eight. So that's always good to see. One thing I did want to kind of laugh about real quick is y'all see who Tennessee's playing?
St. Peter's.
And
Oh,
it's the same
that
exact seed. It's a 2 and a 15, just like we were.
yep. That would be such a refresher.
St. Peter's has they got some damage to do. They got a statement to go put out. And did you imagine that? Rick Barnes chokes in March. I'm gonna be sitting face in front of the TV watching that one.
That
Would
would be
be
wild.
something to see,
Yeah.
definitely.
That would be wild for sure. Yeah, I think I'd be nervous about Houston. I like seeing the national guys put Kentucky in there, but um, I've also seen a good amount pick Houston, and I mean, like they're getting what 10 steals a game. That's a lot, and only less than 9 turnovers a game. Like that's better than UK. That was up to where like UK was when earlier in the year when they had the best assist to turnover ratio in the nation. And they lost that, but Houston's good, man.
Hey, did you see Houston in they are really good, and this was a clunker, but like, did you see them in that championship for their tournament? I mean, for their conference, their championship game?
Yeah, they laid an egg, but
That was me and Tim watched it in the hotel room. We're like, everybody's gonna be watching this of how to beat Houston because something went wrong for him there. And I know I've been hard the whole time on Cal and losing this game, but like, if anything, and this ain't an excuse, I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate. Duke lost their conference first game of the conference tournament. Tennessee, Kansas. I feel like there's a couple more I'm forgetting. So like, it ain't
yeah,
just
Kansas.
doing it.
That's
Yeah,
the whole
Kansas.
reason we got a 3 seed. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but that
No,
definitely helped us out getting a 3 seed.
yeah, you're good. Kansas is cooked, especially with their injuries. I mean, they could lose round one, but yeah, I mean, Iowa State's really good. I mean, the Big 12 is really good. So, and then they beat Texas Tech. The game before they laid that clunker. So, um, Big 12, they really beat each other up, but I think that has them battle tested for sure for this tournament. Um, yeah, the snubs were interesting. I kind of wanted to see St. John's get in for Patino.
Oh,
Uh, that would have been fun. And then he doesn't even accept a NIT bid, which makes sense when you think back to his comment like a month ago when he was like, "This is the worst team I've ever coached," or whatever, like, or worst roster I've ever had coached, or something.
yeah, yeah,
And like threw the whole team under the bus. It's like, yeah, well, it makes sense that you're not playing the NIT. It's not like you guys enjoy playing basketball games. You're ready for the year to be done. So that was tough.
yeah. But
Oh,
yeah,
I was gonna say I was also kind of hoping Indiana State would get in there. And it's a team you don't see often, and probably one of the best nicknames ever in college basketball, probably top 5 at least, in Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I've seen. That would have been something to see, and you know, a matchup between him and then the big man for NC State would have been something to see. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have been a March character for sure.
Indiana State, isn't that the home of Larry Bird?
Yep, that's
Yep.
where he went. Yep.
Yeah, the Sycamores. Remember that video that surfaced a couple weeks ago? He almost came to Kentucky. I'm riding with it. No,
Yeah, stop recruiting him. Apparently, I don't
Joey
know
Hall,
about
what are we
it.
doing? But yeah, guys, that's all I got. As we it's probably one of our longest podcasts we've had, but I'm glad we had a lot to talk about. Um, you know, it was. I'm gonna remember the weekend fairly outside of Kentucky, but that's because we stayed and got to experience Nashville again. But guys, any final thoughts before we kind of get prepared for Oakland, Thursday night game?
Man, this is the best weekend of the sports calendar, in my opinion. It's just the best. You get college basketball all day, Thursday and Friday, like 4 games at once. Just absolute dream. And then you still get a bunch Saturday, Sunday. Um, it's the best, man. It's so much fun, so chaotic. So, it's broken BBN's hearts 2 years ago, like with St. Peter's, but it us as college basketball fans, we just love it. So it'll be interesting to see who's the heartbroken team. The last 3 straight years, there's been a 2 seed go down in the first round. That's wild. Obviously, Kentucky, one of them. So, fill out those brackets, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Actually, I just lost my. Oh, I know what it was. Um, I've seen a lot of people say this online over the last 24 hours, and I couldn't relate more. Some of them people are like, I'm finally admitting that I've never made a bracket where Kentucky doesn't win at all. And I was like, me too. I mean, just, I can't, I've never been able to not do that. I've filled out brackets and Kentucky's in the title every single time. So I can always say I'm one of those people too, or, just growing up and always feeling, I just can't, like, it seems like it used to really feel that way where like you can't count Kentucky. Who are they going to lose to? I don't know. It's probably a little bit easier now, but it used to be like a Kentucky in every tournament. I also hate that they have the KHSAA Sweet 16 going on too at the same time. Like they have it this week and throughout the weekend. I've always hated that because I would love to just be obsessing over both of them separately and give them their both. But Travis Perry just got named Mr. Kentucky basketball. He'll be there with Lyon County. I'm going to try to catch some of that as well, if possible. Um, and I mean, it's March. I mean, middle of March, it's time for, the big dance, and a lot of the madness is about to happen the rest of this month. So, in my opinion, the best sport, the best few weeks of any sport. Nothing that gets me going, kind of like watching an upset and a buzzer beater, and just think like a week from now, like we're gonna be talking about like all the storylines that are gonna come out. We got some exciting times of college basketball ahead of us, guys.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm hoping we can get a few more episodes out here too. One per round, hopefully. It sucks to think that it could be cut short. Could I mean, knock on wood, but next episode might be our last. You never know. You never know.
Oh, come on.
I'm just saying, you never know. There's just that possibility. Do I think it'll happen? No, but there's just that possibility.
Kind of hit on that a little bit. Enjoy your time watching Rob Dillingham. Our games are limited, okay? And Reed Shepherd, our games are limited with those boys. But yeah, let's we got another pod under us. Let's just push it. Let's make it happen.
Oh
We'll
yeah.
we'll we'll harp on how we wax Oakland and we're getting prepared for Texas Tech or NC State.
Yep. Yep. That sounds good to me.
Hey,
You get
man,
to
if there's an early exit, don't be surprised if Reed says screw it and comes back, man. The Kentucky kid might want to do it again. He might want to be the big dog, the king of the city again. And then eventually try to, make a Final Four, win an Natty for his dream school. So just remember, don't call it out. Rob's for sure gone, but there's that chance with Reed. Small chance, but there's a chance the Kentucky kid stays home. So remember that.
Hey, I can definitely say if we don't survive the first weekend, there may not be a podcast. I mean, it might just be you all, but like my computer right here won't be in one piece. Okay, so we may not actually get a podcast. It might just be you guys going at it and talking about this off season. No, I'm just joking. But guys, thanks for being here. And Michael, I know you need to get some rest. You've had a long weekend, kind of city to city. And guys, we'll catch you all after the Oakland game.